We live. We live.
We live?
We,
We live.
We're live on Facebook.
We're live on Facebook?
You're now live.
Yeah. And here we go. We are live on IG. All right. Good night.
Abracadabra.
Greetings, divine awareness.
Greetings, everyone. You have tuned in to
The
art,
sounds of
spirit,
and magic. Art, spirit, magic.
Hey, and it's your goddess Kaheri, my aunt.
And goddess Ahkarah
All right. So it's been a minute, but we're back again with my friend by my side.
Well, I've been here. I just haven't been here.
Here. We haven't been here. We've been doing stuff. We've been
Okay.
Hey, I see Shri Mai, the goddess Shri Mai, Denise in the building. Peace, sis. It's been a minute since our last live. In the last live, we talked about magic. And we got cut off.
Yeah, we got cut off.
So we had to do a part 2. Yeah, we've been flowing. We've definitely been flowing. And
living my life like it's golden.
Hey.
Golden.
Oh, you used to be in the clubhouse rooms with us. Hey, pieces. So yeah, we were on a flow too. We were in that topic of magic, and magic is such a huge topic. There's so many things you could say about it. There's so many directions you can go with it. You can go so deep and so narrow. There's many forms of magic, right? And where we were talking about, we started off with the conversation of our superpowers. And we were saying our superpower was love. We both have come to the understanding that our superpower is love. And we talked a little bit about the examples in our life on how that has impacted magical events, what we deemed as magical.
Right, how love activates my magic.
Yeah. As a form of activation.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We went into define magic, and I recall I was saying that how I personally define magic is the science of the unknown or unseen, but you took a different spin on it, and you were saying that because I was saying that it's the science of what's unknown by the observer. But you said, actually, if you're observing, then you know, because to see is to know, which is facts. Facts. If you truly see, you're observing, then you're in the knowing. Because if you are looking at something and you truly see it for what it is, right? Then it is what it is. You are observing, you are actually experiencing it.
That's good.
Right?
That's very clear. So it works the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
When you see something inside that is focus and attention, which we know where focus and attention goes, what? Energy flows.
Yeah.
Right. And that is the magic of being and getting things done first by seeing it. The energy goes, formulates, forms, and creates. Then you, the observer, send your doer out to do.
Right. That's the power of visualization. That is the act of utilizing visualization and your magic, right? You are fashioning light,
Mm.
right? When you visualize, when you observe and you fashion it, right? When you see the outcome, you are fashioning it. You're taking light and you are creating, you're
yes.
forming it, you're
Mm-hmm.
shaping it.
Mm-hmm.
You're shaping your outcome, your desired outcome.
The energy. And that energy also what resides within you. So that's resonant energy from your visualization. It is resonant energy. So now you are the observer, the deed, and the doer.
The observer, the deed, and the doer. I just want to sink that in for me right now. We are the observer, the deed, right? What's been done, we are that.
We fashioned and formed that energy, so now we are that.
But we're also the doer.
And the doer.
Of the deed.
Yeah.
Me, myself, and I.
Mm. Yes. Magic.
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 And Lene says she's grown. She's noticed that in terms of love, she wondered, in terms of it being a superpower, is that why we tend to attract mostly unhealed men? What I want to say is, if you are attracting unhealed people, then we have to look at what's unhealed in ourselves.
Yes, that's the old paradigm, where you actually go looking for your polarization. You're so well, you're so happy, you're so joyful, yet you still have a polar within you that is not joyful, that is not happy, that is not well. Mm-hmm. And when we don't address that equally, we attract what we're not addressing, which mm-hmm. would then be the unhealed being to mm-hmm. come with your polar. So it's really all me. When I decide to take on a mate that has XYZ challenges, those challenges are also mine. I may not see them. They may not be to the magnitude or the degree, but they are in the frequency of my alignment because I actually attracted them. So the old paradigm is you have not addressed your shadows, so you're attracting your shadows. The new paradigm is we are not polarized. We're not in a polarity, duality system. We are all things. So we address mm-hmm. each action, each thought, and its opposite reaction or response in one. That is the power of the visualization. And then you choose. So now we are our choice. So we will not attract what is not resonant in us. We will choose what of we attract is resonant in us. Mm-hmm. And then say, okay, I'm addressing that. I'm not going to choose that. If you are still attracting your polar, that just shows you to do more work, not outside of yourself, but in yourself. And then you will attract those who have done the work in themselves as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mm-hmm. That understanding.
And that's in everything, mates, jobs, all things, conditions of your fruit, your plant life, everything.
Yeah, I feel you on that. And one of the key understandings I've come to in terms of understanding my magic is that the core of it is awareness. Magic is not necessarily something that's contrived. Like you can say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this, magic into play. I'm going to do this ritual. I'm going to do this, visualization. I'm going to do this meditation. I'm going to do this, ceremony. However, it took me a long time to realize that my everyday life is magic, that I created all of this already.
Yes.
So
Right.
All of this that I created, I may not have created it consciously, but subconsciously, consciously, or my spirit, and all of the choices, right, that I've made, all of the decisions that I made in life, all of the thoughts that I harbored in my mind, that I empowered with my emotions, followed by my actions, created my reality. So everything that is how I created it. And
so deal with it.
So deal with it, right? So if you
love it.
if you're in a situation in life and you're like, woe is me, thinking you're a victim because this person did this to you, this person, traumatized you, this person neglected you, this person won't let you have X, Y, and Z. If you really know who you are, you really identify with the divine aspect of who you are, right? The co-creator of your existence, or even the creator, right? However you want to, whichever one is palatable for you, doesn't matter. You realize that you created this shit, sit in it. You created the shit, now you have to sit in it until you find out why you created it. And if it's not working for you, you have the power to change it. There's no victims.
There's no good or bad.
It just is. All paths lead to who?
Self.
Yourself.
Okay. So
you
created it.
You created it. So that's a good question, because you said there's no good or bad. Is there good or bad magic?
Sure. Okay, so anyway, no, let me stop. It's in it's all in your intent. I don't know. What you create, it's already manifested, subconsciously, unconsciously. How about immaterially, soully, ancient soully, current soully, this body, this life? I created it all before I got here. Right?
Right. Meaning you chose your parents.
My parents.
Right? You chose the location, right? You chose
the nationality, ethnicity. You chose your bloodline.
When you're gonna get here, how you're gonna get here, right?
To match all the circumstances so that throughout my life I could actually be right here talking shit right now about how I am, I self-Lord and master.
Me, myself, and I.
Me, myself, and I.
Self-Lord and master.
So there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to be. There's nothing to do that's not already done, and that you are not already on the path to doing and being. So that's what has already been created. Sit in it and choose. That's the power. We have choice. We're not stuck. We're not bound. We're not materially stuck or bound. That is the magic that we've now discovered, that we within ourselves, with all that we've said, if you create it once, you can create twice, right?
Infinite.
If you can generate the energy for what you don't want, you can generate the energy for what you do want. If you generate the energy for what is not good to you, you can generate the energy that is good to you, for you. It's all within. It's not has to go back, get approval, and come back and then happen. The approval happens with the yes on the inside, with the agreement between the soul, the spirit, and the body, the observer, the deed, and the doer. That's alignment with this kind of outer world construct. Good or bad magic? Is there?
Is there good or bad magic? My answer, you said yes.
Oh, I said yes, no.
Yes, no. There just is. To me, there is no good or bad anything. There just is, right? All paths leads to yourself, right? If I identify with the divine, so this concept, right? If I going back to the law of one, right? The law of one that states that everything comes from this one source, this indivisible source that experiences its life in fractals of expressions, right? Different. I'm an expression of God. You're an expression of God. The dog is an expression of God. The plant is an expression of God. All things that exist are fractals, expressions, reflections of God. So if everything that exists is God, this understanding that we have that there's good and that there's bad, can God be so-called bad? Can God be so-called good? Or is it both, neither, or all of the above? I'm one to say that it's all of the above. I don't really take sides that it's good or bad. We can talk in terms of positive and negative, right? So positive means that you add something, you're building something, right? Or negative means that you're taking away something. But whether or not it's good or bad is relative. So if you're adding something, that could be good if you're adding and fortifying something, if it serves the purpose of the person who's experiencing it for their personal intentions. It's good or bad is very subjective to the person.
Exactly.
Even death, right? Is death good or bad? Are there times where death can be seen as a positive experience?
That's up to the one dying.
Right. It's up to the person dying.
I just mind my business.
and he goes to another, and I feel like we're going a little bit off of the magic topic, but this popped into my head the other day, right? Because I was in a room and they were talking about murder, and is murder good or bad? My answer is it neither is good nor bad. It depends on, it's relative. It's all relative to perspective. Because if you were to say that murderers are bad and evil, then everyone that exists is guilty. Because we murder to survive. We may not murder other humans, but we murder. Even if we're vegans, we murder. If you eat meat, you have to murder animals to consume. If you're vegan, don't plants have life? Aren't they life? Plants are life. You have to eat something that's living to consume, to survive. Even inside your body, we're made up of bacteria that our body kills all the time. There's some that thrive in our body because they have a symbiotic relationship with us, right? They help us. Some of them help break down bacteria in our body, but there's others that can take over and make us sick if our body doesn't kill them. So we essentially are murderers.
Okay, so the word murder is like, it's a word.
It's a word.
So does anything truly die? Or does it just change forms? Okay, and transition. So it's relative as to the state of and condition of a thing, a being, and its purpose. So that's what makes it fit or not fit, right? Good or bad. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's relative to me. So a good story is the traditional story of a villager, right? He inherits a wonderful piece of land and a horse and some other items from an inheritance. The neighbors come by. Oh, this is wonderful. You inherited this land. It's so wonderful. Isn't that great? And he goes, we'll see. So the son, he's riding the horse. He gets on the horse and he breaks his leg. The neighbors come by. Oh my gosh, your son broke his leg. That's so horrible. Isn't that horrible? He goes, the landowner, the man, the neighbor, we'll see. So there's a war that broke out in the nation, and their village is being asked to participate as well to defend the nation. So all of the sons are going off to war. His son has a broken leg. He's not going off to war. The neighbors come by. Isn't it great? Your son doesn't go off to war. He's going to be spared. This is wonderful. And he goes, we'll see. So you can end that story in any way you want, right? The horse can trample the son and he can die, and he gets another inheritance. Who knows, right? But
or he dies and becomes a spirit guide for his father and it helps him from the spirit realm. Now he's an angel,
Is that good? We'll see.
We'll see.
So, it's all relative and perspective. And that patience and observing seat that doesn't go to the left or to the right, that isn't swayed or running off in any direction, it is the observer that sees and observes consciously all that it chooses to see and observe. And so when you're in that position, it's easy to go left or right when you're neutral. But to go left from far right, that's a long way to travel. So the magic is being flexible, being all and nothing, right? Being neutral and on purpose and on task. Intention and deliberate intentions and actions. Intentions is everything.
Yeah.
What are intentions made up of? They are those, who am I? What am I here for? What do I know? What do I desire? And it is going within those to know more within, to know yourself is to expand. And the more we know ourselves, the more we expand. And so then we're out of the polarity because now we're filling in our authentic self for ourselves. We're not choosing whether we want to do that, which is deemed this, or we want to be that, which is deemed this or that. But when you are who you are always right and appropriate for whatever you're doing. It's not good or bad. You're functioning as needed. A knife can cut a pear, which is murdering the pear, or it can,
right?
Or
you
it can,
murderer.
But the knife, it's not the knife, it's the intention, right? It's what do we do with it? It's everything. Each material item has a purpose and a function, and its intention of use makes it the relative response for each person, which is happening at the same time. Good and bad is happening at the same time. Up and down is happening. So if all of these are happening at the same time, why would we choose a blanket determination of an action that hasn't even happened or taken place in your life? You don't know if that's good for you or not, or bad for you. So it's all these words, we've come to learn that they keep us bouncing back and forth in a limited scope and missing the whole spectrum of experience in itself. So when we judge things before we experience them, we don't get to experience them for ourselves to know whether they are what they are for us. So let's say, we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, because going back to the topic of death is a transformation of form, right? Because just like the scientific law that energy cannot be destroyed or created. So that means,
dynamics.
Yeah, that means that everything that exists will always exist. it may change in form, but can anything ever die if everything that always exists can never that all that exists cannot be created or destroyed, right? If energy cannot be destroyed or created, it's just changing form. Then
in an isolated system, which the universe is an isolated system, but there's more than one universe. So those are the laws in this universe, that the energy within it can neither be created nor destroyed. It is within this system.
But it still is in alignment with the law of one, unless there's
Right.
another universe where that doesn't exist. But the law of one states that everything that exists is of the one. So that would be in alignment with it. That so everything that exists from the beginning of time, even scientists acknowledge that the first primeval atom is made up of hydrogen, nitrogen, and all the basic elements.
Carbon.
Right. Those are the same elements that
Nitrogen.
Exist
Helium.
in life today, and in the same order of abundance, right? Where Neil deGrasse says that we are stardust, right? So that the whole concept of the Big Bang, that we started from one thing that exploded and expand into different manifestations, just things changing form. That all life is changing of energy and the form of energy, right? The chemicals of the periodic table just changing in different formats. That's what a magician does, right? Just moving things around.
The systematic laws. Everything has its laws, and each system that it would move through would have its own laws. So whether it's heat, pressure, with temperature, which is heat and cold, pressure, density, all of these things determine how energy is going to behave, how it's going to convert, transfer, transmit, transmute, how to change molecules of atoms, right? How to join them together, all of this is chemical, biological, seen and unseen.
Right.
Right?
It's the science of the alchemist.
Yes. And so words, sound, light, all of these are frequency, which back to the bang, spark chemical reactions, spark growth, spark development, start form, start formulation. All of this is what we are. So my form is the form of this divine feminine that came through my DNA, my bloodline, and we are in this shape or this form. A tree is in another shape or form, whales, and so on and so forth.
That reminds me, this conversation reminds me of a conversation I had with my oldest son when he was about 3 years old. We were walking either to school or from school. And we were talking about the concept of God and the concept of being God. And I was explaining to him, I said that, we're all God. And I was saying, like, I'm the God who chose to come as Kaheri Ma'at, Ahkarah. And you're the God who chose to come as Shakti Sahetep Ahkarah. And he was like, no, I'm the God who knows he is God. And I was like, ashe. Okay, touche. Okay, he's the God who knows he is God. I was like, okay, I see you. I'm going to keep an eye on you. I wanted to backtrack because I kind of wanted to go into the conversation a little bit. We touched upon death, right? We talked about death, and when we eat animals, that's a form of killing, and you have some people who are who don't eat meat because they don't want to kill animals. Although when you eat vegetables, you're still killing a life, right? You are consuming that life form and transforming that. The in indigenous practices, the magic that's in the indigenous practices, specifically a lot of the Pan-African practices around the globe, Ifa, Palo, Vodun, um, these, and even Native American practices. There's this concept of sacrifice, and a sacrifice really is an offering that represents a gathering of energy to empower the intent of what you came to the altar or wherever you came to express your intent with. Now, magic can be expressed in many different forms. Right now, I'm just talking about these indigenous practices, and there are times where the morality has come up of if it's moral to kill animals for sacrifices. I personally don't take a stance on it. I mean, because it could, and to be honest with you, it can go to the far extreme in people's eyes where there's human sacrifice. As we know, as like the real ancient, and I'm not saying there aren't human sacrifices to this day, because I'm sure there are, but we know, especially in the Americas and South Americas, at least in our history books, they've gone back and they pointed out human sacrificing. Do I personally believe that it's imperative to sacrifice an animal to create magic? No. Or to make something happen, to manifest in your life, manifest something in your life. Do I understand the science behind it? Yes, because it is, you are empowering the energy. You're utilizing the energy of beings that are so-called outside of yourself, right? To empower an intent. However, you could also personally generate that energy to empower your intent. The more people involved, the greater the magnitude of energy that you can generate to empower an intent. And when we look at it, that these are all life forms, is it much different to sacrifice a chicken per se as it is to go in the forest and grab the wild herbs to do your juju, right? Because it's all life forms. Even crystals are life forms. Native Americans call crystal stone people because all that exists has a spirit. And that's something that I personally experience as I interact with the spirit world and see and interact with the things, people, places, and beings that exist, that everything, all is life. There's this misnomer that we teach in biology class, that there's biotic and abiotic factors. But most indigenous cultures realize that it is all life. Like Mami Wata, spirit of the water. Mother Earth, spirit of the earth. Father Sun, the spirit of the sun. Our indigenous cultures communicated with the spirits of these so-called abiotic factors. When you do rituals to the water, you are actually engaging with the spirit of the water.
Elementals.
Elementals. It's a rapport you're working with, which is an extension of yourself. There's water in you. There's minerals in you, right? The crystals are in you. There's plants, like there's DNA that's in the plants that are in you. Everything that's the other law, right? Universal law that everything that is without is within. As above, so below, as within, so without. So all of these things are actually extensions of us, and we are of them, because all is one.
So you're saying that people are trying to sacrifice us on the planet? Let me stop.
Yeah, people. I mean that.
Yeah. So again,
people are doing that.
Yeah. So observe where you are and which side of the knife you're on. Put it that way.
Right.
That's all I got to say.
So yeah, be conscientious of what magic you created, because whether or not you think you are a magician, whether or not you think you are a bruja, whether or not you think you are a witch or not, you are creating
an oracle, everything. A sorcerer, a wizard, a warlock.
All of those things you are. You are that. Because you created all of this. By the thoughts, by your actions, by the things you allow to happen. And a lot of it really is programming, things that we were told that we should do, or ways that we should act, or what we observe happening around us. Taking those things into trance.
Conditioning.
Being conditioned.
Inculcation. Assimilation.
Yes, all these things. Which really puts us in a slave position in our mind, because it's all mental. It puts us in a slave position because you're not realizing that you are the master, that you actually created it, that these things are happening by your own doing.
So when you get that and you catch up with yourself and you're at zero, that in itself is magic, because now you are neutral. You can choose. You're not lingering energy from the past. You're not fixated on changing life so much that you're slanted to the future. But in the presence of the now is where your power of choice is. Your power of resonant presence, being here, generating the energy of whatever I want to say, feel, be, and do right now. I am saying, okay, well, what am I going to be next? So this is what I'm next. These words that are coming out of my mouth now, right?
Ooh, yeah. I love that you brought it to the now. Because that is a powerful aspect of magic. Because when you are manifesting, one of the things that we know you have to do is, you don't say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. You say, I am. You don't say, I'm going to be protected, or please protect me. I need protection. It is no. I am protected. I am protection. I am that I am. I am abundance. That's what you are. Abundance is all around you.
And we regenerate what we are.
I am the love that I seek.
At a cellular level. Because that's where your energy resides. Your words are the last and the most powerful. So if you want all of that combustible energy, that transmuting energy, that power to transform, that is all within yourself, and it happens all day long. You are gonna build yourself up, or you're gonna tear yourself down.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to do the thing that you want to do, have you been building yourself up to do it, or taking away your power by not adding visualization, words, feeling, breath, meditation, energy, right? All of that forms the energy. And so
yeah, you know, I like where you were going when you were saying building yourself or tearing yourself down, because that takes us into exploration of terms of light worker versus, you know, dark magic, or angel versus demon. And going back to the theme of good versus bad, you know, being relative, and positive being building on something, and negative being taking away. And whether or not it's good is a matter of perspective. So a light worker, light, right? When there's a you have the in the beginning there was darkness, right? There was the nothingness, the chaos, the womb of existence, right?
triple darkness.
The triple darkness. And then there was the light, right? So the light workers, and then the chaos, the light magic, the Glinda, the good witch of the, you know, and then
Stop playing with people.
and then there's the agents of chaos. Is chaos inherently negative or bad? It's a matter of perspective. What does it do? Everything has a function. Sometimes you need to build something. And sometimes that thing that was built needs to be teared down. So when you're building something, you're using light, right? Using the good magic, using, you know, you being the light worker. But when it's time to tear that shit down because it just needs to come down, then you're bringing in the chaos magic. That's what demons are. They work in chaos. What they do is tear things down. They have a function, but it's a divine function because all is divine. They work in conjunction, right? You have the yin and you have the yang. You have the light and the dark. And they work in harmony with each other. You need them both, the mother and the father.
If all matter were already fixed, meaning there is no chaos, right? Which entropy is the amount of available or unavailable energy for chaos. Mm-hmm. So the more fixed or dense a molecule or structure is, the more formed it is, the more crystallized, the less opportunity for not just chaos, which we think chaos or randomness mm-hmm. is what? Uncontrollable. So that must be what? Bad. No, that is where the magic is. Mm-hmm. Things that are mutable, things that can be transferred, transmuted, transformed, transitioned, right? with little breakdown, with less breakdown, because it's already built in. So utilizing the randomness that's already built in an orderly system allows you to transmute it from one thing to another. There's another word I want to say. Just change.
Just transmute.
change something.
Yeah.
From one thing to another.
Mutate.
Yes.
Alchemize. There's a myriad of words to use.
So which goes back to what you were saying with power and energy and combined power. When you have more people, or more people that hold similar frequencies or similar thoughts, that's getting to a critical mass. That's the ability to change. So the more we're fixed in our ideas and dense in our ideas, more stationary, the less opportunity for what people would say, oh, Murphy's Law. So you want to control everything and form everything. But in the unformed, in the darkness, in the chaos, in the mutability, right? That's where your magic. So the more we ply ourselves from ideas that don't serve us, systems that don't serve us, fears that don't serve us, limitations that don't serve us, we begin to be in the category to utilize and unfold your own magic, to begin to form. When you aren't fixed on what's already there, it must be that, and that's the only thing it is, that thing that seems to be fixed has entropy in it. It has an ability to have randomness and change built in, but you are in the magic. When you're in creative mode, you can see what can be changed. Mm-hmm. When you just want to put the garment on, you're not looking at how to tailor make it for yourself. And that's what magic is. Tailor making life for yourself out of fixed systems, finding the randomness in it, finding and being comfortable in the chaos, in the storm, in the wind, right? Because you can catch that rain and use it in a bucket rather than it being dry. So when things are moving and changing forms, that's when we're able to interact. That's how we want to be with ourselves: pliable, mutable, changeable, although parts of us are fixed. So, yeah. To me, that's magic in the everyday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the main thing that I really hold to is being aware. The awareness that you are a participant in the magic, that you are the magician. Just that alone is exponentially empowering. And even that term is deceptive, because you're not being empowered in a sense, because you already have the power. It's the awareness of the power that you are wielding. We could be like, it's like a baby with a lightsaber wand. We're carrying around this lightsaber, but we're not aware of the magic that we hold in our hand. That we could be just haphazardly doing all kinds of shit, destroying things, right? Only because we don't know the power that we possess in our own hand.
You said it yourself. Every molecule or the atoms in our cellular structure relate to the elements and the atoms in the earth, and relate to the elements and the atoms in the cosmos, in the universe. And so when we want to look at magic, the first thing you say, oh, look at that beautiful flower. How did that happen? This is so amazing, right? We look in nature and we see magic because we don't know the science of it. But it is a beautiful science. We look at the cellular structure in our body and, medicine or herbs or meditation or water seems like magic. But when we know how these elements relate to each other, then we see the science in it. When we, what was I saying? Okay, right.
Just to support you, that goes back to the other one, that being the magician is the knower of the science.
Yes, of the sciences. And so when you want to see what magic can be created, when you come to zero, being in nature, being as nature, being the cellular structure that we are. What is that? The golden ratio. We look at how everything in nature is growing in a spiral fashion. And
3, 6, 9.
Yes, and 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 12. The Fibonacci codes. When we look at how we're all positioned and everything is very close to itself. It's not far away, but very different. When we look at what we don't seem to understand and begin to study it, it's very clear in nature itself. That's where magic is. But even in nature, there is a science. So observing, becoming your authentic self, allowing true systems of existence to be free within our body, allowing, which is an energetic structure, which is a light structure, which is a sound structure, which is a word structure, the powers of your words. Mm-hmm. We look at every language and how they're tonal, everything that happens in nature, there's a sound, there's a feeling, there's a movement with it. That is the magic in the movement, in the sound, in that science. So within ourselves, we're performing magic all the time.
And that's the that's the science behind hexing, right? Hexing meaning saying words that can cause damage, right?
Well, that's a sentence.
So, right. So the words that you speak, if you speak against yourself, you're hexing yourself. If you speak against something else, you're hexing that thing, right? You stating that with conviction, with the intent and the energy behind it, that it is so, then guess what? You just made it so.
You formed contrasting energy. And depending on the strength and fortitude of that other thing, it will either form to the new energy or resist the new energy. So it all depends on, not only as we break down things in science with like water breaks down things, there's different solvents that break down. Mm-hmm. Words break down other words.
Yeah, Denise mentions word, sound, power. Yes. And while we're on the topic, because we have a workshop coming up, Veterans Day weekend at Nicholas Bookstore, you're going to be talking about the science of sound.
Yes, as one modality that can affect and relates to our DNA. And the key is to be empowered and knowing how our systems and functions work allow us to engage in activities that empower us, that move those, not free radicals, but random or chaos into the form of what life is for us. And so knowing our ability to use sound allows us to not cheat, but use tools to resonate frequencies that are in nature, that give us the resonant power, that strength that nature bolsters behind us. So knowing our hertz and scales and chords, and I'm not going to go too much into sound, but yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, we know that sound are waves, right? They're wave patterns, and they have an impact. We know that sound moves things in certain patterns. Just like we know that if you create a sound at a certain pitch, you can break a glass, right? Somebody might think that's magic because they don't know the science. And it is magic because, as we're saying, magic is the science of the universe, how things work.
And what speaks to you is based on what you reside with. So the food you eat have a frequency. The liquids you drink have a frequency. Your fortitude, your strength, and ability can be resisting to oncoming adversaries or hexers, right? Right? And which could be an opposing food.
I tell my children, don't hex yourself. Don't say that. Don't speak that on yourself.
Don't speak that on
yourself. Is that what you want? Is that what you want to happen? If that's what you want to happen, then fine. Otherwise, stop hexing yourself.
Right, because you can turn anything into another with your words and the strength of it, especially yourself, which is the place where all things happen. You're going to meet yourself everywhere. So whatever you design within yourself, that's what your life is going to consist of at the cellular level. From our food and how we're able to inhabit the land, an environment, an interior, a climate, a dynamic of relationships, people, right? How are you able to stand in a room or a crowd and actually hold your frequency with opposing or polarizing other frequencies around? Sound therapy does that. Meditation does that. Your own vocal your own tonal words residing within yourself. All of these make us our own gods.
Yeah. It's the science behind incantations. When you do certain rituals, the science behind the use of mantras. It's the science behind the words of power. It's the science behind crystal bowls, right? Oh, we know all these things have an impact on matter. It has impact on also your emotional state. Music is magical. It just different tones, and we got Denise on the line. She's an audio engineer. She knows the science of how you can utilize hertz and binaural beats to invoke different brain states, right? So,
and the dangers of sound,
and the dangers, right?
Because like even what binaural beats are, it's the difference between your left hemisphere and your right hemisphere and that actual dissonance. What is that? Well, filling that in is what binaural beats are actually doing to sync up the left and right hemisphere. So there is no beat in between them, right? There is no other hertz or lag in time or rate of wave transfer.
And we just talked a lot about sound, and that's your jurisdiction.
That's all of our jurisdiction.
It is,
because it
but
is.
You have a particular awareness,
love for it,
and resonance with that. We another science we're going to bring to the forefront is the science of energy. Charlotte Black is going to take that on, the science of energy. Right?
And she's a Reiki master or training as well, so she brings that aspect into
the transference of energy, right? The healing touch, right? That's
magic,
actually, right? That's actually magic, right? You are manipulating energetic fields
with intention. With intention, yes.
Knock on wood.
Uh-oh.
No. Oh, you know what? That's
I used to do in the old day. Knock on wood.
Yeah. Oh, your head.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Speaking of knock on wood, that is a practice where you would knock on wood means that you are knocking at the trunk of a tree to invoke the spirit of the tree, to introduce yourself to the tree and be in communion with the tree.
Because you're in sync. So you say knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
So we're aligned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, these sayings come from somewhere. Science. Spiritual science.
Spiritual science, yes. There's a science to everything. Basically, science means to know. To
and
know,
observe. Yeah.
And observe.
Mm-hmm.
Is the knowing. And to observe is to know.
We
established that, right?
Magic.
And then I'm going to be talking about the science of spirit, right? From the perspective that there's parts of all things that are a physical. Everything has a physical body. Everything has a mental, emotional body, and everything has a spirit body. To keep it simple, right? A simple breakdown. And the understanding that spirituality is the awareness and intentional interaction with that part of us, the spiritual part of us. It's just like Water has different states, and the solid form is right when the molecules slow down, it becomes ice. When they speed up a little bit more, right, the waves go a little faster, they become water. And when they speed up even faster, they become gas.
That means they're free.
Right. Same as our physical beings. The slowest particles in our being is our physical body. The water particles, right, the ones that move a little bit faster, are the mental and emotional body. And then the ones that move even faster, speed of light, that's our spiritual body. That's not bound by time or space. That's why when we interact with the dream world or we astral project, when we're not tied to our body, consciousness not tied to our body, we're not bound to anything can happen in a dream, right? there's the concept of time is not necessarily real. Things just, you can jump to the future and see what's going to happen in the future. You can go back to the past. You can go to different realities, right? It takes you no time to go anywhere because you're not crystallized in the physical form. Time only exists in the physical 3D, right? So what we doing? What we talking about?
I don't know, but we going live again.
Art, spirit, magic.
We didn't like our connection, but we're back.
We're back on IG, yes. So the science of spirit. I'm not going to go, because I don't want to go too much deeper into that because I want to say that for the workshop and what I'm going to talk about in the workshop.
I think what's so unique about art, spirit, magic, Kaheri, Ahkarah.
I'm laughing at Jen. She said she found weed in her dream last night.
What?
That weed you was looking for. Okay, I'm glad you found it.
Is we're unwilling to relinquish anything. I'm not willing to put anything in a box. I'm not willing to separate science from magic and spirituality from science. I'm not willing to separate any of these aspects. And the more we come out of the ologies and the separation of everything from A to Z.
And the dogma, whatever you want to call it, the religious dogma,
scientific dogma, academic dogma, social dogma, political dogma, earth dogma, climate dogma, whatever the case may be, the more we bring things together, we're able to see the whole and observe for self, which makes me the knower. Observing myself makes me the knower. And taking that and extending it to everything. How you do one thing is how you do what? All things.
As when you know one thing, same thing. If you know one thing very well, you know all things. Just like a single cell in your body has the same DNA as all the cells in your body. If you study one cell in your body, you know the blueprint for all the cells in your body.
Science.
And DNA, and by the way, the name of our workshop is
Life Path DNA.
Yeah, and the activation of that and uncovering your purpose and making sure that you are activating your DNA in alignment with the divine alignment of your purpose.
Yeah, merging mind, body, and spirit, higher self, resonant self, conscious self, all of one. So you are me, myself, and I. I am one with myself. I am present in the now. I am able to reach into my deepest knowing and come up with things that I may not know in a present or a physical way, but I know in my spirit. And that is actually sparking intelligence in my mind to reach in to my cells and come up with the micro to then explain the macro.
Yeah.
Or take the macro related to the micro in my body, and I get the wisdom in between, because how one thing functions, the others do as well when we look at cellular level.
Because they follow the same laws.
Yes. And that is divine intelligence.
Denise makes a point. She says, the more you know, the more you don't know, which is true as well, right? Which sounds like a dichotomy, right? But
because we know everything and we know nothing.
Right. We know everything, but we know nothing at all. The more we live life, we experience more experiences and more delineations, more manifestations, more like creative expressions, right, of the one thing. Because essentially, when you go down to the essential nature of one thing, it's all the same. Because it all follows the same laws, and it's all comprised of the original composition. All major spiritual, you could say, like stories, myths, like creation myths, right? If you go back to them, you'll see a common theme of how things created from the one. Of one became many. If you go to all the creation stories, I studied that and actually referenced this in my book, Magical Woman. There's this understanding how everything comes from the one, and is made up of the elements and the properties of the one. Just as the ocean, a whole body of ocean, you have drops of water. If you separate a drop of water from the ocean, is it not still water? It's still water, still has the properties of H2O. So if we give the properties, if we have this understanding, as some have attributed to the source of all things as being omnipotent or all powerful, omniscience, all knowing, omnipresent, being all places, then that body of water that has omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence, those characteristics still exist in the drop of water. So me being a drop of water, I still have access when I'm identifying with the source, my divine self. When I'm identifying that, I still have access to omniscience, all knowing, right? I have the ability to know all things that I need to know for my purpose here in life. All powerful, I have the power to do whatever it is that's in alignment with my purpose here in life. Omnipresent, I'm connected. I have that power of connection through mentally understanding that. So everything I need to do and be, I have the power of knowing and to actualize in my life in alignment with what I chose, the assignment I chose, the mission I chose when I came to Earth, which is my personal understanding.
So as above, so below, as within, so without. So to live, we live from within ourselves. And that is how we have everything. When you step out of yourself, you immediately go down, you become less. So within is where the power is, because that is where you are able to be in alignment with your immaterial self, which is the knower of all things. There's no humility. You know everything. Okay? When you are inside. Mm-hmm. But in a world that is created already by others and you learn to live in it, that is an outside birth. That is an outside living existence. And that is what we've all been exposed and experienced to. And that's why we're talking in such ethereal and spiritual ways without religion or even specific practices, because it isn't about the doing, it is about the being. Before the doing comes, you are the being. You don't do to be, you be to do. Mm-hmm. And that's the reverse. So you are driving a car, which is your body, but you're driving it from the roof. So you want to at least get in the car, observe from the passenger seat, and then start driving, mm-hmm. right? And that is the dynamic shift that has happened. That is the power that now you are Christ. You are able to do greater works. You mm-hmm. are in tune with the elements that are the mystery. What manner of man of this that can calm the seas and the waves? Because you are water. Mm-hmm. What you are, mm-hmm. you are. You're able to commune and communicate with. You're able to say, hello, water, right? So all of these things may or may not be how they're done, but when you know what is to be done and you have intention, the communication becomes clear as to the how, right? But it's by being the end result first. It's by being the answer, or being the question and the answer, and then the solution.
Mm-hmm. To quote myself,
quote yourself.
I say that we are the great granddaughters of creation herself, which means the DNA of the creatrix, right? The creator is within us, right? We are made up of the same blueprint, same elements, right? Same omniscience, omnipresence, omnipotence. So for me, it's about what I choose to identify with. I realize that when if I say I can't, I'm identifying with the limited part of my being. I'm identifying as the human when I'm saying I can't. When I say I don't know, or I don't know, I'm not identifying with the God in me, right? The God self, because the God is all knowing. It's the human and the perception of this human's limitedness that thinks it does not know. When I say I wish I could, I'm identifying with the human, because the human thinks it doesn't have the power to do something. But the God knows that you are exercising your power, because everything that exists, you are creating it. The fact that you can see it and observe it, you're at a place that merged together of where you put yourself. You're at the longitude and latitude of where you navigated yourself to.
Living is an art. Full of spirit. And I'm getting through it with magic. Okay.
You know, there was a point that I was coming to share that I'm recalling. I'm not going to say I don't remember, because that would be hexing myself. If I don't remember, then yeah, I don't remember, right?
You have what you say.
I have what I say. We went through a lot.
Yeah, not going live for a couple of days. I think I was, had a lot to say.
Yeah, and there's so many other ways that we still can go on the topic of magic.
Yeah, we haven't actually gotten into any practices or any of that type of stuff. I think all of that is like, do your work, study, mind your business, figure out what your personal magic is, because you're already doing it.
Yeah.
The way you eat, the way you prepare food, the way you do your hair, the way you organize your day, everything is, now breathe into that and get out of it or put into it exactly what it is you think you're wishing for, right? Have that, see that, know that, be that, add that, change those colors, do everything that puts you in a position to keep manifesting what it is you desire, whether it's on a physical plane, a spiritual plane, on a thought plane, a knowing, tapping into a feeling, being able to have a ability to change feelings and transition your emotions. These are the things that make magic, when you're able to do what something may not feel like doing, but part of you does. So which one do you listen to, right? Mm-hmm. That's magic. Mm-hmm. Moving your own attitude, moving your own mind, right? That is the goal. You are the football, you are the carrier, you got to carry yourself. You got to take yourself where you want to be and know how to reverse engineer how you got somewhere you don't want to be, and remix those mind, body, spirit chemicals of words, visualizations, right? To now reside in another energy, a desired energy. Focus on what it is you do want, who it is you are, and build from there and add on and use your words to increase yourself, no matter what it is, because your words are gonna be what you say. So you're 50% closer by saying what you desire and do and would prefer. Mm-hmm. You're 50% further away when you speak on what you think you don't have or don't want, or right?
I don't know.
So it's all of those.
I don't remember.
And it's not to be moral or to be good or to be positive. It is to function in a scientific fashion.
That's not me. I'm not that person.
Yeah. Then you won't be.
You won't be that person. But what if that person is what you need to be to get where you want to go?
Well, you're only actually dealing with an idea because it is you. Mm-hmm. Out of 25 characteristics or 15 attitudes or 10 personalities or 3 models, well, you're only thinking about the one in each of those categories that is you. Mm-hmm. But you're not being that, so it feels like that's not you. But there are 3, 5, 7, and 10. Why'd you choose that one and that one out of 7 and that one out of 10? Because those are you. You are attracted to who you are, no matter what it is. Look around you. You'll see who you are by what you actually do, because you keep sending that energy to yourself and you keep doing it. How to detect who you are is to reverse engineer your longitude and latitude. If you're where you want to be and you don't know how you get there, how you've gotten there, figure that out so you can stay there. And if this is the inverse, you want to be able to perceive where you are and know where you are and start residing in that energy, and you will bypass everything that's not you and not that energy. You don't have to knock on 10 doors when your energy is so focused on door number 8. That is the door you're going to immediately rotate to, because that behind that door has the energy that magnetically you will attract. You will magnetically bring yourself to where you are. So there are no mistakes. There are no accidents, right? There are no coincidences. These are all formulated conscious choices we made indirectly or directly that are our life. And we get to spend the time with ourselves to actually manipulate whatever it is I desire to be more or less of. And that's what I do all the time.
Speaking of reverse engineering, that is the methodology that we use as educators and professional curriculum designers. We backwards plan lessons. So you go straight to what is the outcome that you wish to achieve. and then you backwards plan, well, what do you need to do to get there? Okay, well, what do you need to get to that point? Then what did you need to put in place to get to that point? And back to where you are, mapping out the steps and executing to get to that latitude and longitude point. I wanted to shift the conversation just a little bit on the topic of, because we were talking, you said something and it made me think about this, about the moral aspect of certain things and manifesting.
Always running my mouth.
What do you think about love spells? You know, doing.
You got one? That's all anybody want to know.
Yeah, love spells. Do you?
Does it work?
That's what.
My love spell should work for me. I don't know. Okay, anyway, go ahead.
So yeah. Because people have asked me that, asked me, do I do magic? What kind of magic?
Do I do?
And I have experience in many types of forms of magic, right?
We've experienced you talking about a lot of forms of magic tonight. So they came to the right person if they asked you. But go ahead.
And so they asked me about that, and I said, I don't do love spells because I don't conduct in anything that bends the will of someone else's or undermines their autonomy. And that is because I wouldn't want someone to bend my will and to compromise my autonomy, right? And the other thing with that is, be careful what you ask for. If you're not attracting that mate, why aren't you attracting that mate?
Yeah, you better be what you're asking for.
Be what you're asking for, right? When people come to me for readings, for relationship readings, before we do any reading, the first reading is what governs the success of you attracting and sustaining a harmonious mate relationship. Think about that. Why that needs to be a foundational question. What governs the success? That is a question that's putting a mirror to you, a reflection back to you. What governs success? Meaning, what do you need to do? Are you even ready? That is your readiness for a relationship question. What governs the success? The reading is always going to tell you about yourself. What do you need to be mindful of in terms of how you need to function to be harmonious with somebody else? Are you even at a place and functioning that your energetic match, the person that you attract, is that what you gonna want back in your life? Because if you're not the energy that you want yet, and you're hard pressed on getting that relationship, be careful what you ask for.
Observe a little more. When you observe yourself, and you know when you are yourself, because it's a process. It's a process. What is the purpose? We're not in this life to just go along to get along or to do whatever's clever. There's always a reason for the randomness or the chaos or the order in our life. Mm-hmm. And some things we want to be more fixed with, right? Some things we want to be more mutable. Mm-hmm. And that comes to sustaining, and that comes to transmuting. So, choices. I'm always so broad with it. I'm like, just get it done. Just do it. You know how to do it. Get it done. Hey. But
yeah, a lot of times things that look, I know we talked about good and bad and not necessarily, subscribing to good or bad. But life is, to me, life is full of a lot of dichotomies, right? But it may look good, don't mean it's good for you.
Yeah.
So before you even, so the first question is, what governs the success of you attracting and sustaining a harmonious relationship? The next one is, before you even get into a relationship and choose to be with somebody, is this a suitable mate for you? Is that a person that is complementary to who you are and what you want to do in life? Or are you just, salivating over what you see or and how you feel about this person, how this person makes you feel? Is this person something that you actually want to invite in your life? Or are we just doing love spells on somebody because,
oh, okay.
The feels that you get when you see this person, when this person walks your way, this person touches you, the thought of this person, you get that person. You know how many stories I've heard of people who've done love spells. You know what happens to a lot of them? The 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 person that they put the love spell on, they get them. They turn around and abuse them. They turn around and there are people who gotten killed by their, abused and even murdered.
You're really dark and murdery today. I mean, what the
By
fuck?
these mates
I
that
mean,
they
what?
put spells on.
Okay, what?
That's what I mean by be careful what you ask for.
Oh,
And
I mean, my goodness.
That's to the that's
You gonna
and this
kill
is
your
real
ass.
though.
That's what's gonna happen.
There's a lot. He goes.
Okay.
I'm being real
Watch
though. I've seen a lot of that.
It's not about
a lot of people who taking people. Because
gotta
they know
spend some
they
time
know
with
something.
yourself.
They're gonna take somebody's man or take somebody's woman, and they get what they ask for.
Well, we see that in the media all the time. We see that with people in the media.
Murder's definitely
switching mates and things of that nature. And our lives are already lived before we got here. So there is paths. There are paths for us to take. If you're not on a path you want to be on now, stop, drop, and roll. Don't bring somebody else on or jump on somebody else's path.
Work on you. Love on you. If you don't love yourself, if you're not happy with who you are, why are you trying to bring somebody else into that? Why? Why would you bring somebody else into that? And through will, you're gonna put a spell on them. You think you're gonna put your happiness in somebody else's lap because you obviously, because if you didn't love on yourself, right?
Now that's the spell you need to have. How to love yourself.
You need to put a spell on yourself. How to care
about me. How to be the one that I love that I treasure, and knowing who I am. And that is the paradigm that brings you your desire, because you are resonating at that frequency. You are carrying that water, not an empty bucket looking for water. Mm-hmm. You are the water. It's such a beautiful place to be when you actually have the presence of mind, deliberate focus, and consciousness to love, which is allow yourself to be seen by self, and then choose self, and then refine self, which continue to make myself more palatable and more lovable to me. Mm-hmm. Then I have no reason to think someone else won't love me or wonder about who is going to love me. It'll be, wow, there's so many choices at this frequency of self-love, at this frequency of self-care. There's so many choices that are at this frequency of divine self-comfort and presence, being in the now. self-actualizing. You self-actualize yourself, and then you go down Maslow's hierarchy of needs to belonging. And most people get stuck, as one of my friends said, Lord Yams, Aubrey, Aubrey Harper, going up the pyramid of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, most get stuck at belonging. You get stuck right there in your DNA. You get stuck right in your family. Trying to find a sense of belonging. Then you expand to your community and you keep expanding, looking for a belonging. But I belong to me, myself, and I, myself, right? I'm owning my soul. I'm owning my spirit. I'm owning my material self. I'm owning my words and thoughts and deeds. When I do that and begin to, where I am actually now, continue to show myself that I have the patience, the love, the care, the concern for me. How would I want someone else to have the patience, the love, the care, and concern for me when I am not actualizing that in myself? What are they going to care for? What are they going to love? What are they going to be concerned about? What needs do you have? Where are you? Right? Whose dissatisfaction is it? Someone else's to satisfy, or they're your own dissatisfactions for you to make satisfaction for yourself? And that is the time saver, right? Because there's no distance between me and me. That is the goal, right? To reduce the distance between myself and myself. Who I see myself and who I am. Who I desire to be, who I've desired to be, and who I be. Who I've beed, who I've become, right? And that satisfaction is more and more allowing me to live each day, because it's each day that is the magic and it's beautiful to me. It isn't a tomorrow that is going to be better than today, because now is the only thing there is. Then what I do in the now, who I am in the now, what resides in me in the now, is what's going to be in my future. If it's not in me now, it's not going to be in my future. If it's in me now and I don't want it, it's going to be in my future, right? So the key is as you just explained, reverse engineering. Being at zero, knowing what I want, and then being free and clear with chaos and order, able to maneuver myself through my own self and keep choosing myself. We can't say that it's a perfect world and it's a perfect life and you're never going to be at the grocery store with someone at a different frequency who says hi to you and you might be attracted to them. Well, it's there. We have polarities within ourselves. We resonate at many characteristics, personality, attitudes, so many things that could be appealing. So just an attraction doesn't mean an automatic relationship. You can just explore why you are attracted. What is it? What got us here? Oh, well, these things work, but these things are not preferred. So I'm going to continue working on myself. I'm getting there, but I'm not quite there yet because I'm still attracting someone who's working with this. That means I'm still working on that too. And it's the non-judgmental, right? It's judging the effect that others have on you. Sure, yes, but you're actually judging yourself. So it's the ability to be on the other end and take the judgment and say, okay, not only am I not liking it on you, I'm also not liking it on me. And then who do I work on? The me. Because that's the one I have no distance in between. It's easier to change me and work on me. That is the spell. Because my pheromones, my hormones, my aura, my disposition, my everything will attract and show what I am, and will then be a signature for others on that frequency. So yeah, and that's all I have to say on that. I'm getting hungry.
You getting hungry? We're gonna wrap this up. I just want to say that if you love not self, you know not love, and have none to give.
That's beautiful.
So until you do that, are you a suitable mate for someone else? And is your potential mate a suitable mate for you? Are y'all ready to make magic? Are y'all ready to make magic together?
Yes, I'm ready for my divine masculine. I'll see if I like myself, and then I'll be ready. I'll check. I'll get back with you tomorrow.
I love myself. I love myself.
Yeah. I love myself enough to change the things that I may love about myself, but aren't serving me. How about that? Hey, right? So getting attached to the ego, getting attached to the id, getting attached to the material or the constructed systematic self. Like I am a system within myself. I do things in a certain way. I go certain places. I patronize certain markets. I do. That's a system, right?
And the programming that was handed down to you, not necessarily of your own creation.
And what it was that I have chosen. So what do you have that is you? What do you have that is not? That is larger than your family. That is larger than even your neighborhood, right? These are the constructs.
That's another dichotomy, because even though there's programming, I'm saying this program outside of ourselves, we still chose it, right? Because we still chose the family that we came to, and when
we chose the work to do.
We
chose the work to do
it.
Because in that work is going to make me me. Everything that I address, it brings me closer to me.
We wrote the script to the play. We wrote it, and we are acting in as a character. With Spike Lee, y'all. We're the writer, the director, the producer, the camera person, the actor.
Yep.
The protagonist,
the observer, the doer,
the antagonist. Yeah, me, myself, and I. It's just me, myself, and I. Shout out to Selena Group.
De La Soul.
De La Soul.
Thank you all for coming. I'm so glad we had this time together.
I'm so glad we had this time together. We are showing our age here. But that's okay.
Are we really? I guess we better show it.
All right. We out. Until next time.
Peace and love, art, spirit, and
magic. And those of you who are catching this in a timely manner, we have a workshop coming up at Nicholas, Brooklyn. And Restoration Plaza. Life Path DNA, right, is our workshop. We're going to break it down for you, the science of energy, the science of sound, the science of spirit as it relates to DNA and your life purpose.
Yes.
Check it out.
Clearing that energy, removing those blocks, finding your way to tune in and tap in so you can do all of this transformation, visualization, magic within self. Because that's what it takes. Breathing, focusing on your desires, knowing how to tap into your body so you are aligned. So we're going to work on all of these things, aspects, and bring them forward, show you our joys and pleasures on how to fulfill this life here and sharing it. Yeah.
And if you're catching this on the replay, we will definitely put a link at the bottom, and it's available to purchase the workshop, because we will record it. It's going to be more expensive than if you attend the workshop live.
November 12th.
Right, so you definitely want to be in the house if you can, because it's going to be more expensive on the back end. Other than that, we are out. Let's not forget to tell the good people to, if you really enjoy this, if you're finding value in this, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel,
comment, share
in the chat. Definitely share, and hit the bell so you get notifications when we put out more videos.
Yes.
We love you. That's our superpower, remember?
Yes. Love yourself. Love ourselves.
All right, love you too.
Peace.